Hello, this is part 2, part dos, 1, 2. And in this part, we will continue looking at Ableton and learning some more in-depth features. Ready? Go! Then up here at the top left, we have the tap feature. So that is to figure out a tempo. So like, let's say I, have a song and I drag it into Ableton, and for some reason the automatic tempo warping and matching isn't working. I could click on tap and I could go dun 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 dun, and then click that 4 times, and it will figure out my tempo. So apparently my average tempo was 127.26. Whatever. And then I could click on it, drag the mouse up and down to change it. I'm gonna put it back at 150. So again, all I did was I click on that button and then I drag my mouse up and down. These two things, don't even worry about, not that important. This right here is your time signature. Generally, you want it to be 4/4. You might want it to be 3/4. You can just do that by clicking on it and then dragging up and down. Change the time signature. But yeah. And then this is your metronome on or off toggle switch. And then this is your quantization. More on this stuff later. Then over here we've got this. So this tells you what measure the cursor is at. So if I click over here, you'll see it keeps changing. And then you've got the play button, obviously, the stop button, and the record button. So moving on, we've got on the top right here, we have measure numbers. So obviously it starts with 1, and then these also show you the beat. So that's measure 1, and then that's beat 2 of measure 1, beat 3, beat 4, so on and so on. That's what that stuff means. Then on the bottom, we have time. So, I closed that, by the way, by double clicking. I'm double clicking right there. We have 0 seconds, so on and so on and so on. And then if you want to zoom in even more, you can see like down to the super micro millimeter. The way I'm zooming is I put my mouse in this dark gray thing where the magnifying glass is, and then I can click, and then as I'm holding down, I can move up, which zooms me out, or move down, which zooms me in. If I click somewhere, that moves my starting point. So if I click right here and then I hit spacebar, it plays from there. If I click right here, it plays from there. It will stay in that same spot until I click somewhere else. So like watch, I click here, I play. Okay, I want to mess around with something, I make a change, and then I hit spacebar again. It plays from the same exact spot, which is different than some other studio software things. Digital audio workstations, as they're called. And then up here is the loop feature thing. So see how right here that changed when I did that? So now the loop feature is on, and I can drag this over here. And now as I'm playing, let me fast forward. So I'm playing this right here, it's gonna automatically jump back. So that's what the loop feature does. It has it jump back and just keeps playing whatever is selected. Let's say I want to do a different section, and maybe even a smaller section. If I just wanted to do a different section of the same length, I could just drag it. But if I want to do a smaller section, I could either highlight that section and then do Command L, or I could just take this thing and drag it to whatever length I want. And then same with that. I could change the beginning of it. So that is how you do the looping thing. And let's keep going. So let's talk about audio tracks. So audio is just digital sound, and it's just in a simple file. So here is a triangle audio clip that actually is recorded by none other than the great Michael Spyro. Google him, Michael Spyro. He is quite the man. He's also my teacher. So that is that. That just kind of shows you what audio is. It could also be this. Repique. That's actually repique. It's like a Brazilian, it is a Brazilian drum. It's very cool. If you want to learn more about Brazilian drums, just search samba. You could also search sambamasterclass.com and you would find Michael Spyro if you really want to get into it. Cool. Let's keep going. Let's talk about MIDI tracks. So let's use this new kick as an example. So if I click on this pink thing, which is called a MIDI clip, I can see the what's called the piano roll. So this is the piano roll. And you can see, again, I have measures. So measure 1, beat 2, measure 2, beat 3, beat 4, so on and so on. And right here, I have all these different drum sounds, and they're assigned to a specific MIDI note or a specific piano note. And in this case, I use this CJ kick deep vibe kick. And you can hear that what it sounds like here if I solo it. And so now for the return tracks. So Ableton has this very cool thing, which is slightly different than other digital audio workstations, where it allows you to do these return tracks. So for example, if I solo the drums, so you can hear this. If I want to do some delay, I can click on this, which is my delay. So what that's doing is it's taking an extra version of the audio coming from drums and sending it through this delay channel, and it's going through this delay effect and then coming out and being combined with the original drum sound in the master. So it sounds like this. So I can change how much of that is going through. Then this one is going to reverb. So that's obviously tons of reverb. I don't really want that much. I can turn it all the way down. But that's how you use return tracks to do effects. You also could right click and do insert return track and make your own. And then you could go over here to audio effects and probably like, I don't know, what would be a good one? Flanger maybe. And then you'll notice that shows up right here. That's your third return track. And you could add more to that. And you can hear it's being affected by this flanger thing. So there you go. Those are return tracks. So back to the drum. I can solo the drum and you can hear it. Let me put it back to center. Cool, so you can see in here my drum pattern, and down here is velocity, which basically for our purposes means volume or dynamics. So if I take this and I drag it up, that's going to make it a higher velocity, which is going to make it sound louder. If I drag it down, it's going to get quieter. You can hear that. The reason it's making sound without me even playing anything is because I have this little blue button bluified. And if I don't have it, it won't do that. But I want to leave it on for now. Okay, so that is velocity. You can see over here I've drawn in different velocities to make this bass drum part sound the way I want it to sound. In case you're wondering, I'm using a bass drum rhythm from Brazil from the style called maracatu, and this is the alfaia part, or the bass drum part for that. Okay, so that is MIDI, the very basics of MIDI, and you've already learned audio. So now let me show you some Ableton hacks, some very convenient, very awesome Ableton hacks. So if I do this, if I do Command K, it's going to make everything orange and crazy. So if I go up here, you can see on that stop button, there's like a little box with a little symbol in there. What that is a keyboard shortcut. And that button is the button just to the left of my number 1 on my keyboard. And I've mapped that button to be the stop button. And then I've mapped the record button to be number 1. I've also mapped the metronome button to be number 2. Why have I done this, you ask? Why have I done this, you ask? Because it makes it easier and it allows me to do everything that I need to do with just my left hand, and then my right hand can be the mouse or be an instrument or whatever. So the way you do that is super simple. You just Command K to get to this menu, you click on that, and then you can hit whatever button. I would recommend 2, and then you can click on this and hit 1. If I hit 3, you'll see it changes. So like whatever I hit, it changes, but I'm going to leave it at 1. And then the stop button, I'm going to leave at that little tilde, whatever that symbol is. And then you can see over here, it's saved those mappings. So now I can do Command M, and that puts it back to normal mode. Now, you've only done this for this particular project file. What if you want it to be for all project files, which you probably do, you should do Command comma or go to Preferences. You can go to Preferences by going to File, Live, and then Preferences. But I'm going to go Command comma, and then I can go to File Folder right here, and then do Set Current Set as Default. So if you hit Save, it will overwrite your default set. I'm not actually going to hit OK because I have all these sounds in here. I don't want it to actually be like that. What you should do is just open a blank file, do Command K, do your mappings, and then save it as your default set. Okay, so that is a ton of material, but what that should do is give you a very basic understanding of how Ableton works, how it's set up, and how to get started with it. So now what you should do is go into Ableton, play around, make some music, and share it with me and the world and your friends. Have fun making music. Later.